Jon Jones has, I mean, you've seen it so many times, has that dark side to him. Like when him and Cormier don't think they're on camera and they're talking, they can hear each other. And Cormier goes, I ought to come over there and spit in your face.
I wish they would let me next door so I could spit in your face.
And Jones goes, you know I'd be right.
You know I would absolutely be if you ever did something like that.
And DC goes, you could never. He goes,
you could never.
Daniel, if you ever spit in my face.
I would literally be if you spit in my face.
You look at Jon Jones, and there's another Jon Jones one where he's like all happy.
What was like one moment where you really pissed Dana off?
UFC 151, and he refusing to fight Chael Sonnen. He just didn't see the logic in it.
What happened though?
It was Dan Henderson I was supposed to fight and canceled the fight. He got injured. Supposed to fight Chael Sonnen instead. And Dan Henderson and Chael were really good friends, and I just assumed that they were in cahoots. And I didn't want to put myself in any type of disadvantage by taking a fight last minute. Despite how above people perceived that I was, I ended up getting the coach against Chael Sonnen as the Ultimate Fighter and then fighting him, and it was fucking amazing.
What do you think Jon would do in the next couple of months that would make me trust putting him on the White House card?
I would not trust him, but I would like to see him fight Aspinall on that card.
If I had to make odds, it's 1,000,000,000 to 1 that I put Jon Jones on the White House card.
You said Jon Jones called you.
Well, it wasn't a conversation. He reached out to me and apologized, saying, listen, sorry how this all played out or whatever. You know, I want to fight at the White House. I'm serious about that.
Has that changed your view?
No.
No, not at all.
No.
So there's no chance he's going to
No, I appreciate him reaching out and doing that, but I need people I can count on for this fight, and I know who they are.
I don't think Jon Jones would have been the holdup on this fight as opposed to he was in the Tom Aspinall negotiations, right? In the Tom Aspinall negotiations, Jon Jones was the one that said, I need this dollar figure, make it right, and I'll fight. Then they did, and then he didn't fight, right? He was the holdup. Tom was not the holdup.
Yep.
In this current iteration, in this White House fight, potentially against Alex Pereira, I don't think Jon Jones would be the one that will be holding up ceremony, right? It was the UFC, right? They have other options, right? Hey, we're going to do maybe Conor McGregor, maybe Ilia Topuria. All these other options are on the table. Dana White.
The 1,000,000,000 to 1 odds just became a reality. Dana White didn't just snap, he effectively erased the most dominant fighter in history from his future plans after a series of backstage blow-ups. The tension finally boiled over, and the message was sent loud and clear. Nobody, not even the GOAT, is bigger than the brand. It started with a phone call that changed everything, leaving the legendary Jon Jones on the outside looking in while the promotion moved on without him. The reign of terror in negotiations is officially over, and the fallout is sending shockwaves through the entire sporting world. This isn't just a business dispute anymore, it's a total dismantling of a legacy.
Jones doesn't want to call him. Now, all of a sudden, you're in the scenario that I've been predicting since December, where you got to break glass in case of emergency, and you call Jon Jones. I don't think he's the holdup anymore, so I'm pretty hopeful that he will fight Alex Pereira.
There's only one potential holdup, and that's the UFC.
Right, and it's not Jon this time.
No.
Yeah.
And he ain't getting $30 million for this, in my opinion.
He blew it last
But it's fine. Honestly, I think it's one of those where he's like, I think he's at peace with that. I think they'll do right by him. I think they'll pay him very well. I think he'll do very well. He'll get... Boom.
The roots of this fallout go deeper than a simple contract dispute. People have seen that dark side to Jones many times, but the backstage incident with Daniel Cormier was the breaking point. When they didn't think the cameras were rolling, the mask slipped. You had Cormier threatening to spit in his face, and Jones responding with a level of coldness that left everyone in the room chilled to the bone. That raw, unfiltered animosity revealed a version of Jones that Dana White simply can't control anymore. It was a glimpse into a chaotic personality that makes doing business nearly impossible, and it's exactly why the trust has finally evaporated.
Millions of dollars, no problem. I don't know if it's going to be 30. I think the only potential holdup is the UFC. They don't have a better option. No. And I'm not even suggesting that this is a bad option. This is an amazing option. There's no better. It checks off all the boxes. It's everything that you would want in this White House main event. Jon seems to be very, very happy to do this. He seems to want to do it. He seems to be motivated to do it. He's an American. There's history at stake. It feels like the greatest no-brainer. It feels like the fight to make. GC, agree or disagree?
This isn't the first time Jones has left Dana in a massive hole. Everyone remembers the disaster of UFC 151, where Jon's refusal to fight Chael Sonnen on short notice forced the promotion to cancel an entire event. Dana never truly forgot that betrayal of the company's interests. He just didn't see the logic in Jon's decision, and it created a rift that never quite healed. Now, history is repeating itself with new negotiations stalling and demands reaching absurd levels. Dana is officially miffed, and he's stopped playing the game of chasing his biggest star. The era of bowing down to the demands of a fighter who picks and chooses his moments is done.
To make this work.
The desires of this administration and the UFC as well to have an American, you know, he's no longer champion, but he's one of the greatest, longest reigning champions we've ever seen in the UFC. He would be a massive favorite in this matchup against Alex Pereira. And then the B side of it, you're getting Alex Pereira, who is one of the hottest stars in the entire sport. This feels like big business. This feels like the main event of the White House card. This feels like something that you could put on CBS potentially as well.
Is there a better option?
Can I ask
The financial demands were the final nail in the coffin. Word is Jones was looking for a staggering $30 million payday to step back into the octagon, a figure that Dana White found laughable. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the precedent it would set. By saying no, Dana has effectively launched a strategic attack on Jon's negotiating power. He's proving to the world, and to Jon himself, that the UFC has other viable options for their massive cards. They're looking at superstars like Conor McGregor or Ilia Topuria to fill the void, shifting the entire narrative to show that the promotion holds all the cards in this high-stakes game of chess.
McGregor potentially fighting in July and targeting that area. Is there another option? Or is this the option and that's why
the only other option that features an American would be Gaethje versus Ilya.
Ilya was on the table?
Ilya was on with Aiden Ross. He said that that's not being discussed, and I can confirm that's not being discussed at this time.
Oh boy.
They're not talking to him about that.
So then this feels like you better go all in, right?
I mean,
Get Jon Jones
the truth is, what do you really even need for the White House card? Like,
if you have this, nothing else.
The move is a calculated attempt to reassert control over their biggest star and remind him who truly runs the show. For years, Jones has been the one holding up the heavyweight division, stalling negotiations with guys like Tom Aspinall and Francis Ngannou. He would demand a specific dollar figure, get the UFC to agree, and then the fight still wouldn't happen. Dana is finished with that cycle of disappointment. He needs people he can actually count on when the lights are brightest. The promotion is now flipping the script, forcing Jon to take fights on their terms or not at all. It's a raw power struggle playing out in the public eye.
I think the casual sports fan is going to hear UFC fight at the White House and be like, all right, I'll watch that because the draw is the venue. The draw is the location. I don't think that you're going, like this thing that you're going to get 6 title fights or this thing that you're going to get like 6, you're not going to get that. You're going to get maybe 6, 7. Oh god.
6, 7.
Yeah, you're gonna get like that many fights, not your usual 13, and you'll get a big one at the top, and then you'll get a bunch of other Americans versus non-Americans at the bottom, or maybe all Americans.
You say a big one at the top.
Even a personal apology couldn't save Jon this time. Jones reportedly reached out to Dana to say sorry for how things played out, expressing a desperate desire to fight on the upcoming historic White House card. He was serious about making things right, but Dana's heart has hardened. He told the world that his view hasn't changed at all. While he appreciated the reach out, it didn't fix the underlying problem of reliability. Dana needs fighters who show up, not legends who apologize after the damage is already done. There are no second chances when you've burned the bridge as many times as Jon has over his long and controversial career.
Yeah.
Who is it?
No. It has to be this one. We have been talking about the White House card since July of 2025, right? We've been talking about this. It has now become crystal clear, right? We were always saying it's a little too soon, it's a little too soon. The time is now. And in a 5 to 6 year stretch, when they couldn't get Jon Jones versus Francis done, and they couldn't get Jon Jones versus Aspinall done, and they couldn't get Jon Jones versus Francis done a second time, and they couldn't get Francis versus Aspinall and every other freaking iteration, it's right here. You've got a mega fight on your hands in the most like famous venue of all time that you'll ever put on a fight. Jon wants to do it. Alex openly wants to do it.
The White House card was supposed to be the crowning achievement for Jones, but now it looks like the UFC is ready to move on with Alex Pereira as the leading man instead. This is a massive strategic shift that essentially dethrones Jones from his spot as the indispensable headliner. Pereira is the hottest star in the sport right now, and he's willing to play ball by the UFC's rules. By putting Pereira in the spotlight, Dana is calling Jon's bluff. He's showing that the promotion can create a historic spectacle at the world's most famous venue without needing the headache that comes with the GOAT. It's a move designed to strip away every bit of Jon's leverage.
Just make it happen.
But this is what you said they could do anything. If they can't do this, then what?
I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, they need to do this because to your point, Ariel, like the casual audience is tuning in for the venue, but you need that one big hook.
Yeah.
So if you have this beyond it, it really doesn't matter how you stack the
Now,
cards.
PT, let me ask you this. Does it have to be for a belt? Like for Alex to vacate.
The situation has reached a break glass in case of emergency level of desperation. The UFC needs a massive main event for the White House card, but they are determined not to give in to Jon's $30 million demand. They are banking on the fact that the venue itself is the draw, not just the names on the poster. Dana is gambling that a casual sports fan will tune in just to see a fight at such a prestigious location, regardless of whether Jon Jones is there. This is a direct shot at Jon's perceived value, suggesting that his star power isn't as necessary as he thinks it is. It's a cold, hard business reality that Jon is being forced to face.
I think they're going to do it for a belt. I think it will be the interim title. I think, to your point, Aspinall having fought in October, I know obviously his future is really up in the air at the moment. We're waiting to hear results of how the procedures went just a few weeks back. But as we found out when we were over there, like there is a chance that there's another procedure that will have to be undertaken at that point. So I think interim is the way to go about it. I'm hoping that Tom will get back in there.
To make matters worse for Jones, the UFC is enforcing a new era of strict rules regarding championship belts. In the past, guys like Conor McGregor could hold 2 titles and move between divisions with ease. Those days are over. Dana is now aggressively stripping belts from anyone who tries to hold up a division or chase super fights on their own terms. Alex Pereira had to vacate his light heavyweight title just to even be considered for a heavyweight jump. This policy ensures that the UFC retains maximum control over every division. It's a clear warning to Jon: if you aren't active and defending, you aren't the champion in the eyes of the promotion.
Something about this soon in terms of, well, not soon, maybe in a couple of months' time, about whether he will be back in the sport. I think the sport is richer to have him there. I think it will hurt him to watch Jon Jones fighting if that is the case, which will probably motivate Jon Jones a bit more, to be fair, because we know there is no love lost there between Jones and Aspinall, certainly on Jones' side. We know he's just kind of said Tom's an asshole in the past and things like that, so I don't think he'd mind getting one over on him. I think for the event, for what it is, I think they got to put a title on. If you're going to make Alex move up to heavyweight.
The animosity between Jones and the rising stars like Tom Aspinall is also being used as a weapon. Dana knows that Jon looks at Aspinall with genuine disdain, even calling him an a-hole in private conversations. The UFC is cleverly using these tensions to manipulate the situation, trying to goad Jon into a fight while simultaneously building up Aspinall as the legitimate future of the division. They are even talking about creating an interim title just to bypass Jon entirely. This would effectively make Jon a champion in name only, while the rest of the world moves on to a new, more active leader who is willing to fight anyone at any time.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. Jon has said he wants one more fight. He has said this. So what, you're going to make an interim belt so that he can potentially win and then, what, retire that belt? Like, what's the point?
I don't think it needs
That's exactly what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do.
You think that's... Okay, you say he doesn't need a belt, and I agree, because fighting Jon Jones is bigger than a belt.
It's the GOAT versus the light heavyweight champ.
But then why the hell did this guy give up his belt?
Because they take this opportunity.
But
to not hold up that division.
You wouldn't need to vacate the belt to take an opportunity. We saw Anderson Silva take opportunities in the past.
Yeah, but that's not... This is the new
different
version.
era.
This is the Ilya Topuria and Islam Makhachev have to give up their belts era. Why would you ever take...
The proposed Eagle Belt, or a special American-themed title for the White House card, is the ultimate sign of how far the UFC is willing to go to replace Jon's prestige. If they can't get the undisputed title fight on their terms, they'll just manufacture a new one out of thin air. They want a red, white, and blue spectacle that appeals to a mainstream CBS audience, and they don't believe they need Jon Jones to sell it. This move would be a total mockery of Jon's status, showing that the promotion can create championship gravity whenever and however they want. It's the final stage of stripping away the unique power that Jon has held for over a decade.
The answer is only in this new era. I would never take a belt off those guys.
You don't think Paulo Costa, you don't think Alex Pereira vacating his title is an indication that he is fighting for a belt of some kind?
I would think it is, but I don't think it needs to. I'm saying I don't care either way. The same way when everybody's talking about Ilya versus Islam, I don't think a belt needs to be on the line for that either. I think some fights are big enough to have.
But the question is posed perfectly. The history of failed super fights involving Jones is a glaring embarrassment for the promotion that Dana is finally addressing. From the Ngannou fight that never happened to the repeated delays with Aspinall, the UFC has lost millions in potential revenue because of Jon's negotiating tactics. Dana is done with the what-ifs. He wants results, not rumors. This shift toward Pereira is about reliability over reputation. Pereira is an American-based star who is ready to move up and save the day, providing the UFC with a Plan A+ that doesn't involve the constant drama and uncertainty of the Jones camp. The leverage has officially shifted across the table.
The White House, for the president, for their friends there, for Jon Jones, and for Alex, they'll just make an interim.
But then they get into that situation you just said. Jon walks out the door again.
I think everything is about June 14th.
Yeah,
for them.
they will slap anything on it. Think about it as
Then
well.
do it.
Through the first three pay-per-views of the Paramount era, we've gotten one actual undisputed title fight.
Hey, by the way, just make up a belt. It's not the first time. Just make up a fucking belt.
The red, white, and blue belt.
Heavyweight. Who cares? Make up a
Red,
belt.
white, and blue.
then.
I like that, jeez.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
America belt.
Something, Pete?
America 250.
Get Dana on the blower and let's figure this out.
Red, white, and blue.
The bald eagle belt. Something.
Now we're like
Imagine
getting into
Alex
stuff.
wins it. Jon, the American, loses, and Alex is walking.
Dana's frustration is visible every time the subject of Jon comes up. It's not just business, it's personal. He feels like he's been backed into a corner too many times by a fighter who knows his own value all too well. By publicly stating he wouldn't trust Jon on a card as important as the White House event, Dana has effectively ended their partnership as it once existed. You can't have a main event star that the boss doesn't trust to show up. That lack of faith is a death sentence in the UFC, especially when there are younger, hungrier, and more cooperative stars waiting in the wings to take that spot and the massive payday that comes with it.
I was just saying, like, to Rick's point earlier about Islam and Ilya, the reasons why they gave up the belt was to fight for another one. You know, like, I think that's the indicator.
But they could have kept it and fought for another one, like we've seen in the past. Conor McGregor did that. Everybody who did double champ did that. They could have held that belt. There was no reason to take it off him.
But if his intentions weren't to...
That's the UFC's decision. Like, that is
That's
what
my
they're doing
point.
now.
That's why when you ask, why did they have to take Alex's belt? They don't, but this is the modern UFC. This is what they do. When you want to change weight classes, we're going to take your belt. Go do something else. That's fine.
The paradox of the situation is that while the UFC is attacking Jon's power, they still recognize he's one of the greatest to ever do it. But being the greatest doesn't give you a free pass to hold the promotion hostage forever. Dana is making it clear that the brand is the ultimate star. If Jon wants to be a part of the future, he has to play by the new rules. No more $30 million demands, no more picking opponents, and no more holding up titles. The 1,000,000-to-1 odds of him being on the card aren't just a figure of speech. They are a reflection of a relationship that has completely deteriorated under the weight of years of scandal.
Beat Jon.
Yeah.
Why does that put him behind him? Because he's fighting Jon at the tail end?
Yeah, maybe controversially, I don't think head-to-head wins are the be-all, end-all of greatest of all time conversation. I still think Chris Cyborg is the greatest female fighter of all time, even despite a loss to Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Jon's resume is just too good, and for Alex Pereira to beat him in the twilight of his career in his very last fight, to me is not as significant as the body of work Jon has put in. But if he beats Jon, and then dare I say Tom Aspinall comes back and he beats him too, now I'm ready to have the conversation about somebody being better than Jon Jones.
Alex Pereira's willingness to vacate his belt to chase this opportunity is the ultimate contrast to Jon's behavior. Pereira is showing the kind of company-first attitude that Dana loves. He's taking a massive risk for the sake of a historic moment, while Jon is perceived as sitting back and protecting his legacy. This makes Pereira the hero of the narrative and Jon the villain who is standing in the way of progress. The UFC is leaning into this dynamic, painting Jon as an obstacle rather than an asset. It's a brilliant move that isolates Jon and makes his demands look even more unreasonable to the fans and the media alike. The mainstream appeal of the White House card on a network like CBS is the biggest prize the UFC has ever chased. They want a clean, professional, and explosive event that introduces the sport to a whole new demographic. With Jon's history of legal issues and backstage scandals, he's viewed as a liability for such a high-profile broadcast. Dana needs a clean star for this one, and Alex Pereira fits the bill perfectly. This isn't just about who can fight better. It's about who represents the brand better on a global stage. Jon's past is finally catching up with his future, and it's costing him the biggest opportunity of his life. Even the dark side that people have talked about for years is being used to justify sidelining him. The UFC is highlighting the fact that Jon can be a loose cannon, making him a risky bet for a venue as prestigious as the White House. They are essentially saying that Jon is too much of a wild card for the elite circles the UFC is now entering. This is the ultimate dethroning, not just of his title, but of his status as a mainstream ambassador for the sport. He's being relegated to the role of a specialist fighter who is only brought in when the circumstances are perfect and the risk is managed. The strategic chess game is now in its final stages. Dana has laid out the options, and none of them favor Jon Jones. He can either take the fight on the UFC's terms for significantly less money, or he can watch from the sidelines as Alex Pereira becomes the face of the most historic event in the promotion's history. It's a brutal choice, but it's the one Jon created for himself through years of difficult negotiations. The UFC has successfully chipped away at his perceived power until there's almost nothing left but his resume. And in the fight game, your last performance and your latest negotiation are all that truly matter. There's also the looming threat of retirement. Jon has hinted multiple times that he only has one fight left in him. The UFC doesn't want to build their biggest event around a guy who is going to win and then immediately walk away with the belt, leaving the division in shambles once again. They'd rather invest in someone like Pereira or Aspinall, who represents the future of the company. Jon's retirement talk has backfired, giving Dana even more reason to move on. Why give the biggest platform to someone who is already halfway out the door? It's another calculated move by Dana to protect the long-term health of the promotion. The 1,000,000-to-1 comment wasn't just a jab, it was a policy statement. Dana is finished with the Jones era of the UFC. He's looking for the next generation of superstars who don't bring a decade of baggage to the scale. The Backstage scandal was just the catalyst for a divorce that was a long time coming. Jon's legacy will always be there, but his influence over the day-to-day operations and the major fight cards is effectively gone. He's been dethroned by the very man who helped build him into a star, proving that in the UFC, the only person who is truly untouchable is the man holding the promoter's microphone. Even if Jon were to return and beat Pereira, the damage to his relationship with the UFC might be irreparable. A win in the twilight of his career wouldn't change the fact that he's become a liability in the boardroom. The body of work is legendary, but the business of the UFC is moving at a pace that doesn't allow for the delays and drama that define the Jon Jones experience. Dana is building a machine that functions perfectly without any single individual, and Jon is finding out the hard way that he's just a part in that machine, not the engine that drives it. The transition to the Pereira era is officially underway. This is a historic moment in the sport where the power of the athlete is being systematically dismantled by the promotion. Dana White has shown that he can take the greatest fighter of all time and make him irrelevant to the biggest event of the year. It's a masterclass in brand management and a warning to every other fighter on the roster. You can be the GOAT, you can be undefeated, and you can be a legend, but if you cross the boss and hold up the business, you will find yourself on the outside looking in. The throne is empty, and Dana White is the one who decided who gets to sit in it next. Ultimately, the story of Jon Jones and Dana White is a cautionary tale about the limits of leverage. You can only push the person who signs your check so far before they decide they don't need you anymore. As the UFC prepares for its historic night at the White House, the absence of its most decorated champion will be a silent testament to the new reality of the sport. The era of the superstar fighter dictating terms is over, replaced by an era of total promotional control. Jon Jones may have never lost in the octagon, but in the battle for power backstage, Dana White just delivered the final knockout blow.